Okay, so this part of authentication for Web API is going to be about token authentication. Token authentication seems to be typically used for the times when we want to have another developer call our API and sort of work it into their application. And this is done in a way that the developer who wants to work with our API, he would request API key, and which we would provide to him, and also shared secret. Now this shared secret is used to encrypt and decrypt the token, to create a token. And basically what they do, they encrypt it on their end the certain way, then we do it on our end, and we compare what they send us to what we have and make sure it's correct. So it's a very safe way of authenticating somebody, because it would be very, very hard for somebody to find that key, and try to decrypt it. Almost impossible. So the user will request the token. We can then validate and return the token. The user then uses API with this token until the timeout that we already set up. So in order to do this, first we will create a post method that will return a token. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that in the code. So I created a new controller and created a constructor for it, in which I'm passing the iCounting case repository repo and sending it to the base controller. So then we're going to create a post, because they're going to be posting to us to request the token, and we're going to create this model, token request model, because this is going to be the model that they're going to be passing to us. So the post token request model is going to have their API key and the signature. Okay, so once we create the posts, we're going to create try and catch. If there's any exceptions, we're going to try to catch them in a catch. So in a catch, we'll create error response, request that create error response, parentheses http status code that bad request, comma ex. And then for our if anything else happens and we can't return in our try, we're going to return also bad request, but since we won't have exception, we're just going to return request that create response, http status code bad request. So instead of error response, just a regular response, bad request. So then in our try, we're going to go ahead and start to get the information that we need. So first thing that we need to do is we need to get who is the actual user that just made this request. And in order to do that, we're going to create a variable user. We're going to query our database through the repository called getAPIUsers, where, and then we're going to make sure that we get first or default for API ID that was sent to us in our model, and the API ID that it's in a database. So that's how we get our user. Then we get a secret. So if user is not null, then we get our secret. And that's the data that we have in our database. So what we do next is we take the secret and create a key from it, from base64 string. So we convert from base64 string the secret and get a key. Then we create another variable provider And here what we do is we encrypt using SHA-256 encryption this key, and then once we have this SHA-256 encryption of the key, then we use the hash. We compute the hash with their app ID. So that's how we get the hash. And then finally we create a signature to compare. We create a signature which should now be the same like the signature that they're sending us. So this is that part of the magic of authenticating through using this secret, using this ID and a secret. So then we say if the signature that we created using using these steps, if it's the same as the signature that they sent us via the wire, we're going to go ahead and generate the token. So row token info, concatenate the app ID and current time. Then we encode and compute the hash, and that's how we generate this token. And then after that we're going to generate authorization token from the token. So we generate authentication token, and that's already it's one of our entities, and then we assign some properties to it. We say the token is the token that we just created, create the expiration, and add the user to it. So now we're going to have in-memory representation of this token. And now of course the reason for that is that we are able to save this token to the database now. So what we do is we insert this auth token entity, and if this insert is okay, then return a response created, and we return, using the model factory, we're going to return the objects to it that they're going to get on that side. And this is how we've done it with a lot of all of the other things pretty much. We created this factory that creates the model. That's the one that's actually being used to pass it, to generate a JSON instead of using the entity. And here's our auth token model. So model factory creates this auth token model and sets token and expiration to it. And the only other thing that we have to do is we need to go ahead and create, of course, in our web API config, we need to go ahead and configure the route. And here's the route for our API token, controller token, and so now that we have all these, we should try to go ahead and try to build, see if everything builds okay. And everything built it okay, so let's, in our fiddler, go ahead and test this. And we test it by posting to API token, making sure the content type is application JSON, and we are sending the API key and a signature, both API key and the signature that that they encrypted on their end, which is the same process like what we are doing on our end, except it's done on the other side. So this way, if anybody gets this code while it's in transit, they'll have a very hard time finding out what it is and breaking into our application. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and try to post and see what we're going to get. And like we see right here in our results, go to inspectors and JSON, we'll see that now we are creating and returning to them, because this is now on their end what they will be doing. So expiration and token. So this is how we create token authentication for our web API.